All right, so welcome back, point three people, to something exciting today. Season 2, Episode 1. It is Wednesday, April 24th, and this week marks the 1 year of point three. So we can't thank you all enough for the support. Stay tuned for our special 1 year video that's coming out on YouTube this week. Spider Brando,
Yo.
Hero Scroll,
What is up, everybody?
and Lou, your favorite trio of hosts. We're back again to discuss the latest superhero and biggest pop culture news and notes from the past week. Stay tuned for our double deep dive of Deadpool and Wolverine trailer reactions, as well as a Wednesday live stream special MCU Redo for Avengers Endgame. Big stuff coming, but Hero Scroll, what do we got first?
It's a good live stream, but past recording session for the year anniversary of point three, we did do a special video that, like Lou said, that'll be coming out later. But we saved one question that we kind of wanted to talk about here on the live, and that's what made us become content creators, right? I know for myself personally, it was this. It was kind of in the height of the pandemic, and there just wasn't a whole lot to do besides work and play games online. And that's when I started getting into comic books more, and I just randomly decided I'm gonna start an account. And it was at a work trip in New York. I had gone to Midtown Comics in
Dude, I love that voice.
It's super cool. It's a super cool store. If you've never been, definitely go. It was the main one, the one that's 2 stories.
Yep.
Went in, bought some books, and I just posted them. And then from then on, it's just kind of been a need in a way. I don't know how to explain it, and maybe you guys can. This weird feeling of wanting to share stuff with people and put yourself out there. And then I think as time just grew on or went on, and the Instagram page grew, it was like, okay, time to do something else. And then that's when TikTok came up, and I was like, all right, let me try that a little bit. And it was fun. And then I know when videos started doing pretty decent, it was like, okay, what else can I do? And then I think that, led to us eventually joining together and forming our own dream team and forming point three.
Legit, dude. I mean, for me, that's kind of the same thing. The end of kind of my height of content creation, if you will, on TikTok led me to you guys, and actually Spider Brando first, and then Hero, you were a suggested account, which was super cool, and we were all kind of like, we're mutual Funko people, so that's kind of nice. But I think with so many other things, it's a way to express, and kind of what we were creating about today. And for a lot of characters that I like, when it comes to figures and comics and stuff like that, it was really just a way to kind of dive into them in a fun way, because we haven't either seen them, or the way that they've been presented to us was limited from a preference standpoint. And I know that's big for me from a Funko piece. I'm just like, man, I finally have something like this, and it's the only way I'm really going to see it if I'm not playing a game or reading a book or talking to other people. It's just always there. And how to kind of bring those to life. It's just kind of cool to do that through, social media, and it connects people just like us. So yeah, it really boils down to just expressing a passion, finding like-minded people. And it's a plus for social media that it kind of brought us together to form the Super Point 3 crew.
Very well said. I pretty much agree with my experience with it. Kind of was just getting bored with lockdown. I started my account 2022, so it was a little late, not really peak of lockdown. Not really anything. I just got bored, and I have so many Funkos, and I got tired of mixing my personal For You page on TikTok and Funko videos in one. So I was like, I'm gonna make a separate Funko specific one and just see how it goes. And boy, I have not looked back at any of my early videos ever since. I don't even want to think about looking back to any of them. But it was just fun. Like they're all just going around my room with my phone, just making the content that I think is cool. I didn't really care if anyone else liked it or not.
100%.
And just to show off my collection, I got to meet you awesome people, the point 3 people, and Lou. I like to say that I got to see your uprising with your account because you found me when you weren't exactly where you're at now, obviously. Um, and I was like, I remember once you commented on a couple of my videos, I checked your page out. I'm like, yo, this guy's edits cook. He deserves like way more likes, just anything that I was doing. And that's just awesome to see where we're at today. And so many other people that I met in content and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy world and connections that you can meet through internet and social media.
And I was gonna say, most of the people on Discord that we talk to, that's kind of how we've all gotten to know them, is through excuse me, is through our content creation for the most part. I think there's like
Yeah.
a couple here and there that we personally know, but or like outside of making stuff, but most were through TikTok pages, Instagram pages. And that's such a cool thing, it's a very cool thing. And I like looking back at my old stuff and then also our old stuff here in point 3, because we kind of touched on it on that video, but it's just cool to see how far you can actually go with content creation and how your ideas just kind of naturally keep going, right? Because I do remember the very first post that I did. It was funny because I posted a picture. You can look at it on my page. It's like the very last, the very first one, but it's a picture like this very weird widespread shot of Midtown Comics, but you couldn't really tell it's Midtown Comics unless you know what it is. And then in picture 2 is another picture of just like the wall, the comic wall. And then after that, it is books that I got, but they're framed so bad. Like I cut off basically like the top and bottom portion of the book, and it's literally just the middle portion. And I literally remember that in my room, because I knew nothing about lighting at the time and how to kind of make your phone look good with, the light that you have. So I literally remember taking this blanket that I had, that I still have actually, and putting it on the bed because it was the one that didn't reflect as much light. And that was the background of like the first 3 photos that I had, was literally like a blanket that was in my bed. And then I also had like, I remember this other phone that I had, like just this phone that I wasn't using anymore. And I would use the flashlight for that to light the pictures. And you can literally see it in the post. There's some that like there's just this giant weird white spot of light and me trying to light the picture.
That's me with all my early Funko posts until I got a freaking ring or camera or just discovered that there's just massive glare. You could barely even see the pop, but I'm like, damn.
No, but what we posted back then, that was like Try 95, and I'm like, damn, this looks good. This looks good. Like it was worse than that.
I was proud of it though. and in a way I still kind of am, because I feel like you're putting yourself out there. And that's hard to do, especially with content creation, which I think is what stops a lot of people, is being like, what if people make fun of me? What if people this? But people really don't, at least not in like collecting and comic pages. They tend to be a little nicer from what I've seen. You do have your people who, kind of,
for the most part though,
but mostly everybody's very nice and very supportive.
So point 3. Love to hear from you guys.
Yep.
What kind of made you become a content creator? It's always nice to kind of share that in this. Like if you're kind of in the same boat and you resonate with what we were just talking about for the last 10 minutes or so, drop it in the comments, let us know, and we'll probably check out some of your stuff too. So
Always here to support one another. But we have a jam-packed episode, so it's time to hit some rapid fire news. Because we got Deadpool to come and MCU Redo to come. So starting out with Sonic 3 news, I feel like it's not a week goes by without Sonic news. It's potentially now titled Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, with a Sonic account tweeting out a whole new logo, adding and Knuckles to it. And the producer also said the film pulls a lot from the video game Sonic Adventure 2 and is a giant, fun, incredible movie. I'm excited once again. I'll save it for another time. But on to the next one. Spider-Man 2 re-release breaks 1 million and counting in theaters, coming back and starting this past Monday. So that's great to see everybody going to see our guy Toby and Alfred Molina. X-Men 97 directors want to make a animated film, which I would be so down for. And lastly, Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 have increased their player counts to way new highs. For Fallout 4, it's the highest since 2016. For Fallout 76, the highest since 2018's release. After the Fallout Prime video show or Fallout Prime show came out. So that's cool to see when you compare those numbers compared to like the Halo show and Halo Infinite. Just from a gaming perspective, Halo Infinite did nothing when Halo came out. So it's absolutely wild to see Fallout 4 and 76 games that are all nearly 8 to like 6 years old being back up as top playing games again, just from one show. And that's all the news I got.
I was going to say this could be a little segue into our next section, because I think Fallout's a really good example of this whole fatigue conversation that we've talked about for a very long time, of people being like, they don't want more of it. If it's good quality, people can't get enough of these things, and they're willing to go back years to find things. Fallout, go back. X-Men 97, the amount of viewership for X-Men 92 is just skyrocketed, and the amount of people talking about it because they want to go back and find it. So there is something to be said about some legacy projects and legacy characters. But speaking of legacy characters and those that have been established, we got our Deadpool and Wolverine trailer number 2 drop. Go check out YouTube and socials if you want some instant reactions from that. It was spicy. It was good. It got some chef's kiss from the Point 3 podcast. But Hero Scroll, did the Deadpool trailer number 2 heighten your expectations for the movie coming out this summer?
100%. I think I said it in our Discord. So if you're not on there, definitely join us. But yeah, 100%. I think I've gone on record a few times saying I just really wanted to see what this movie kind of looks like more in motion. And the fact that they showed us, and they showed us a trailer that gave us information, didn't give us too much, so that we can still kind of speculate like we're doing now, but then also not have all the answers and be like, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to happen. No, it gave us stuff to analyze. It gave us, certain answers to questions we've been asking, but then raised some more. I think this was the perfect trailer for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
How about
I'd
you?
agree with that. I thought it was amazing trailer. It's like you said, the first one got us thinking. Everyone I've talked to and I've made the statement to has also agreed with the statement. The first one really makes you think the plot's going one way, and then this one, I have no idea where the plot's gonna go, which is great because Marvel is notoriously known for just revealing everything about the movie in one freaking 2-minute video. So, or they could be fooling us and they gave up the plot
Aha!
straight away. I don't know.
Gentlemen, point through people. I'm having a hard time with trailer number 2. I am not as hyped about this movie as I want to be. And I think I'm definitely tempering and reserving expectations. I know we've talked about this in our Discord where, I mean, the amount of comments that are like, oh, surefire $1 billion movie. This is going to be one of the higher rated movies. Look out, No Way Home. All that kind of stuff. I'm not there yet, personally. I think Marvel is very smart with their selections that they've made. But I will say my number one reason why I'm not as excited for this movie as I thought I would be is trailer 1, we didn't really get much Wolverine, right? In trailer number 2, the expectation was Wolverine, but I saw Logan. I saw a suit, no cowl, no mask. I saw Hugh Jackman's face in a bar. I saw Hugh Jackman's face when they're in the desert or the void, whatever that is. I saw Hugh Jackman in slow-mo. I saw Hugh Jackman looking at Deadpool getting licked by a dog in his face. And my fear for this movie is that they revert back to how Fox did the X-Men, and it was very Logan-centric, where his name is Wolverine in terms of how rabid he is as a fighter and a mutant, but not necessarily paying homage to the character of Wolverine. And I thought this would be a really good first stab at the Wolverine character for live action. I just don't see it, and I really don't feel it yet. The only other piece of this is I hope that there are a little bit more connections to the MCU, and there are little snips that I feel they're, uh, the portal ring that looks like it could be Doctor Strange or someone from that time, right? The Ant-Man piece, super cool. The Void, TVA, Alioth, all of those things can hint towards the MCU, but I didn't get a feel that this is going to be set in the MCU. It feels like it's still sitting on the edge for me. And I'm just concerned that this is going to be another self-contained movie that introduces 2 characters, but don't give them kind of a next step like we've gotten through phase 4 and 5. So it kind of just set me on the same path of like, this is today's MCU. I'm going to wait for the movie. I love trailer 2, but it just seems like it's just not there. It's just not there.
Yeah.
These are all valid concerns. I never really thought of like the comparison of like seeing Logan versus Wolverine until you brought it up today, and that got me thinking a little differently on it. But ultimately, I'm, like you said, just gonna wait for the movie and try to be a little optimistic about it, just because it comes out 2 days before my birthday. So,
and I want to throw this
again.
I want to throw this out here though, because I don't think that means it's not going to be a really fun movie or really good movie. I just think that people are hoping this, like every other movie that has come before this, is going to solve all of the MCU's problems. And really, by saying this, I don't think it's going to solve those problems. I think it's going to be a really good movie to potentially great movie that is going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. It's not going to shoulder the entire load to fix the problems in the MCU that I think people were hoping for with Multiverse of Madness and Love and Thunder. That was a tough time. And this movie, I get vibes that kind of fall in line with what people expected versus what they delivered. And it was never supposed to be anything else, but people made it that.
Yeah. It does feel like they kind of know what they have to do with this movie in certain ways. Because again, this trailer, even though it was perfect And I still stand by that. It still
Mhm.
feels reserved, which is a good thing. So I do think there's
Mhm.
going to be a
Mhm.
lot of surprises in here. I think the question is, though, are those surprises going to be good? And how much are they going to connect back into the greater MCU? The
Yeah.
thing is really that I think people forget is that the MCU has, at least as of right now, has too many problems that only one movie can fix. No one movie can just come in and fix it. And to be quite honest, it's not going to be an R-rated Deadpool movie.
Mhm.
And that's not a knock against the movie. It's just more so what we have to remember is that the MCU in general is marketed towards a certain audience, a certain
PG.
younger audience.
Yeah.
Max PG-13. So for an R-rated movie to come out and for it to be such essential viewing for people, and a lot of kids are going to miss it because their parents don't let them, or simply they can't get into the movie theater.
Mhm. Mhm.
It has a ceiling in a way.
Yeah.
It can break through that ceiling, but it still has a ceiling in a way. um but the question I wanted to ask you, Lou, that you brought up, because I think it's a nice thing to kind of discuss, especially with the feel of how this movie is, and this can kind of tie into in the what do we want to see next. You brought up the Logan character, right? And we were kind of discussing it earlier today, but not a lot of people realize that Logan, unlike, for example, someone for, let's say, like Spider-Man, that there is a Peter Parker, and then there's his alter ego, you could say, of Spider-Man. Even though they are kind of one and the same, they are still two different
Mhm.
characters. But Logan and Wolverine are so, at least to me, very tied, closely together. So for you, besides the costume, what do you think they need to do to really make this be like, for you, no, this is Wolverine and not Logan?
I think this just goes back to me having this movie feel super. And I think the super aspect is let's see superheroes do things in their full costume head to toe. Deadpool's going to have that, right? Deadpool's thing is his mask. Ryan Reynolds and crew, they do a really good job with that. When he's at home base, then you see the crusty head. It's different, right? He's not on the battlefield pulling an MCU where, like in Quantumania, Ant-Man and Cassie show up and Ant-Man's like, Cassie, boop, boop. Why is my face out in the quantum zone? And he's just like, quantum realm. And he's like, are you okay? We should learn how to fight. And it's just like, no, 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 no. Like, they cut that out. Like, I don't want to see any of that. But from a Wolverine perspective, I want to see that raw, rabid, just the look. Like, I want to see him do all the stuff that they tried to do by Logan, but with the cowl on. Like, I know it sounds very like what's the word? I'm like minor of an ask, but it's like when you see Spider-Man swinging, he doesn't do it with his mask off. He's got his mask on and he's swinging through the streets of New York. When Wolverine's ripping through 20 or 30 military level grade adversaries, he's ripping through and you see the emotion, the visceral, the growl, the spit coming out of his mouth, because that's the opening part of it. The white of the eyes, you see the ears. Like, it's just different when you see him doing that. Whereas when he doesn't have it, yes, Hugh Jackman's really good at what he does, of course. I just see Logan. I see Logan, and that's not the Wolverine that I personally grew up with. And to keep this short, I hope that they give more of a separation of actor and character. Because to me, that feels like it's Hugh Jackman. Logan is Hugh Jackman, just like everyone says Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. Sure, Captain America is Chris Evans. When you saw that and when those connotations came up, Cap never had his helmet on after that. It was gone until they were like fan service moments. That shouldn't be a fan service moment. That should just be the baseline of what it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Because I know I said it earlier on Discord, but it does kind of feel like this will be the first attempt that they kind of do for Wolverine with the Logan character.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see the damn mask as well. I am all.
I just want to touch on this real quick too, because you had mentioned it is a good point, because we talked about it, I don't know, what was it, last month or the month before, where James Gunn was saying, one of the things I'm going to do in the DCU is protect secret identities, and people are like, Superman doesn't have a mask. You got to understand the character to really kind of get what that means of who's Clark Kent versus Superman. Why don't people see him? And they're like, don't you work at the Daily Planet?
Yeah.
Batman versus Bruce Wayne, again, Spider-Man versus Logan, James Howlett, whatever you want to call him, Wolverine. It's not really a secret identity. He doesn't, right? They are one and the same, but I think what we see in like X-Men 97, for example, although Wolverine is kind of a side character almost, through 6 episodes, there's the Logan who's the soft Gene, look in my face, the love, that version of him comes out when he's Logan. But when he puts on the suit, dude, that guy's growling, and just those adamantium claws are tearing through everything. He doesn't really do that as Logan. However, live action Logan, that's what he did. So it just is odd to me because I don't feel the Wolverine aspect of it yet. Obviously to this point, because we haven't seen a live action Wolverine in a traditional sense.
It's also kind of using that name, the Wolverine name, right? Where this trailer very heavily was like, no, every time they are referencing Wolverine, it's not Logan, it's Wolverine. And I think Fox, when they were, if you watch a lot of them back, every time they reference, it's not really Wolverine. They're always Logan, 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 Logan. Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine made a point of being, every time we're referring to him, it's Wolverine. It's not Logan.
That's my point, though. I see Logan, but I hear Wolverine. That's my disconnect personally.
And that's why maybe this will be the first one to change it.
Yeah, I hope.
And it's going to take kind of like a training for people, because if you stop, I think, right, if you just, the people who don't really care about books, which is okay, they're going to immediately write it off. They're going to be like, why does he have that stupid mask on? Or, like others have
exactly
that you said, helmet, where they have a helmet on. And it's like, no, they're different things, buddy. But, they kind of have to toe that line. And it can be kind of hard. So I hope they get it right.
I got one last thing, Spider-Man. I'm curious. They're both of you, what you think about this? Because I thought about that earlier, right? I've been thinking about this way too hard. And I think I'm taking this like more from a personal take, because again, it's kind of like what we talked about with content creation. There's only so many times that we're going to see this combination of characters, and it's like Endgame. Like today really is like perfect storm type of conversations. We only get to a year podcast by doing, like this is the only one we get. My only other concern and fear, and again, this is based on absolutely nothing in an unknown, but knowing that it has ties with the TVA, understanding that TVAs and variants are closely associated, knowing that there may be multiple versions of Deadpool that could be in this movie, and knowing that we saw Patch, who could be a variant of Wolverine, I have a fear that, to your point, Hero, which you had mentioned, of like kind of have to retrain fans to be like, hey, this is Wolverine, it's not Logan. You're here because you know of Logan and you've seen him 8, 9, 7 times, I don't know, a lot of times. The only way, if I keep telling you it's Wolverine, the flip side is as I keep showing you it's Wolverine, and knowing that we have the potential for variants, is it possible that we get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different versions of Wolverine in the mask, but those are pruned or killed characters in this movie. And it's like Wolverine masked up, gone. Wolverine, he's masked up, Deadpool and Logan Wolverine kill him or something like that. Like does more variant versions of a Wolverine for a one-time only movie kind of water down his first true suited attempt?
Yes. I'm saying that only because they're very, very on the border of already watering down what 2018 Logan did. So if they mix in with just like showing us all these variants of that just one off and die that have the mask on, I'd be very, very upset.
I'm gonna say no.
Oh.
And no, because to me, and it's not a bad thing, right? But Logan Wolverine, from what we've known him, this version, Hugh Jackman, right? Other than the actual Logan movie, has been displayed one way, right? And I think this is your chance to kind of show people that new people and people who either haven't read comics in a minute or whatever, that Wolverine is more than just Hugh Jackman. Wolverine can be a lot of different things and can have personalities. He can be Patch, which, in theory can look a little silly, but, for certain people that may be like, whoa, why is Wolverine like that? Let me go learn more. And then they realize that, wow, Wolverine is actually more than just, angry claw dude.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it really does feel like at the end of this, regardless of if he is in Secret Wars or not, it's starting to set up the passing of the mental moment. So if you have variants and you have Logan or Hugh Jackman maskless for most of the time and all the other variants masked, it's, to me at least, it's, and depending on how Marvel does it, but you could set up the fact that this is what Wolverine is going to be after. You'll get him here and you might get him in Secret Wars without the mask. But after that, whoever takes it up after him is going to have the mask. So be ready. But enjoy this as well. Here you go. So I don't think it waters it down. I think it just sets up people up and, eases them into it instead of just being like, okay, it's not Hugh Jackman anymore. Also, he has a mask.
Just sparked a new theory for me.
Yeah, early predictions. Let's do it.
So, my theory. Main timeline MCU movie, Wolverine is in this movie, but has the mask on and we don't know who it is. That's going to piss me off. But I guarantee they're going to do some shit like that, man.
Okay.
That would be a bold choice. And I would like it because Marvel hasn't done anything bold like that in a hot minute.
Possible.
You're on my thought track. You're on my thought track to where if the variants are the same and they're all Hugh Jackman, that sets up a massive problem for the future of the mutants, because you're like, then all of you have to look alike, even though we know all Spider-Men don't look the same, right? Tom is different from Toby. Toby's different from Andrew. They're all Spider-Man, but they look different. It would be genius if they had different actors who are Wolverine. Now, for me personally, I'm bought in because I'm like, okay, good. You're keeping Hugh Jackman and that version of Logan separate. And maybe we do get all those theories of like a Daniel Radcliffe or a Charlie Hunnam or whoever they can get, even if wow, this is terrible that I'm Henry Cavill. Someone, if they're coming in and they are versions of Wolverine, all badass, fine, all day long. Give me that. Because now anyone can be Wolverine. And now I'm going to be looking at Wolverine slightly different, of saying that was a version and an interpretation. These ones are going to be different as well. So I will give you that from a theory standpoint of, yes, fine. It won't feel watered down if they're different, but I do think that there is a carryover version that gets hinted at that could be kind of the prototype for the 616 but I do think the Hugh Jackman version does carry over to Secret Wars, or at least Avengers 5. I don't know if he'll make it through both. And again, we have to take into consideration how extremely hard it is to kill Wolverine. So unless it's an incursion and some universes clashing together, good luck. But yeah, I guess from an early prediction, it's something that everyone's been saying, but I kind of hope that they do. I hope we get an incursion from the standpoint of something he didn't do that caused his world to collapse. And we finally see for the first time the effects of an actual incursion, so that it can set up future versions of that for the main 616 Earth.
Yeah, I agree. I saw a lot of people talking about there's a specific moment in the trailer where he's like kind of in a field, there's like a bunch of tombstone looking things, and a lot of people from what I saw were speculating that's an incursion, but it doesn't feel like what they've shown us a world that has had an incursion. No. To me, that more feels like Cassandra Nova being in his head, or a flashback of some sort.
100%.
And I think they're saving the incursion. I think we will see. I do think ultimately him failing his universe, it means an incursion. And I think we will see it. And I think we'll see two, to be honest. I think the Void is kind of going to have an incursion. That's my early theory. That something's going to happen.
Like if it gets like too populated with too many powerful people.
No, I don't know if that way. It could be, maybe, but to me it's more because Eliath serves that purpose of destroying, what shouldn't be there. So to me, it might be more so that I feel like this is going to be a little multiversal.
I agree.
You're not going to have like 3 different worlds, but I do think you'll at least have like 2. And ultimately, I do think Deadpool is going to lose his world. And I think that'll be the one that we see.
Yeah, I could see that world being pulled in. Like Cassandra Nova is powerful enough to either like pull worlds into the Void, or have some sort of like massive purge machine or technology or something like that. Like it's going to look janky. It's going to look Mad Maxy. It's going to look like it's put together, but by some of the smartest people using any resource that they have. Yeah, I could see the Void being the big fallout area. Weird. I'm just going to throw this out here. I know we're coming up on time and we still have our deep dive to get to, but does it feel weird to you guys? And I haven't heard anyone talk about this, so this is fresh. Does it feel weird that we're going to have TVA and Void and Alioth, but no Kang?
Just a little bit. It still feels weird that we're going to have TVA in it, because obviously of Loki 2, and we don't know exactly what TVA this is. Like, this could be... I've seen some theories about this being a potential TVA that wants to like regain control from like the old Kang ways and not like the Loki 2 ways, but that seems really complex and kind of crazy when you factor in whole multiversal timelines and how anyone knows where anything is. But I don't know. I'm still very confused with certain aspects of how this movie's going to be, like timeline wise, multiversal wise, Void wise. And there should definitely be like a Kang, especially with TVA and Eliath involved.
That's the weird part. I don't think we're going to get any Kang. Anything you would assume at this point. But if anything, we get maybe Ravonna Renslayer, because that's where she ended up last by that point. And something was approaching her. Maybe that's the route that they go now instead of Kang.
I was going to say it could be her. I wouldn't be surprised also if they lean more into Loki seasons 2 ending, where the timelines are just everywhere now.
Mm.
And we start to see kind of the worlds colliding a little bit, and this Alioth be something else entirely from a different world.
Mm. It was a little more
Like
purple
from
than the other. Oh, yes, I believe.
they're very similar from what I looked
I
up.
haven't watched
They're
it
very,
anyway,
very
side by
similar.
side.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they start leaning into those ties, because at this point it'll be what, 7-ish months since Loki. So it's about time that, the next big multiversal project kind of starts bringing in those references and kind of connecting the dots. And I think doing something like that would be cool, even if they're like, hey, the worlds are just bleeding into each other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alioth just shows up. You could do a Renslayer tease, and I think it would be cool. But ultimately, with the way these two phases have been, Kang's been here so little that it really doesn't. It feels weird because he should be there, but at the same time, I don't think his presence is missed as much.
Mm.
I have one final honorable mention theory that sparked into my head.
Hit it.
My friend had brought this up to me on a call before the episode and came up with, what if Cassandra Nova kind of is the new Kang? She's powerful enough to want to seek after like different multiverses, and she could be just wanting to go after every Xavier and / or now Deadpool's in existence. And that would be a cool way to kind of like have her and then still have someone else like Doom behind the scenes in the future.
I like it, and it would work if the X-Men were already here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But since they're not, it just feels like she would kind of be a random insert for Kang.
Yeah.
Mm.
So if the X-Men were here, I could see her being like a multiple movie villain, and I think she could probably fit very well into that slot, but not here, not at this current time at least.
The only thing that I'm thinking that they would really do, they could do, and I kind of wish that they maybe would do, is for whatever reason, there are some kind of loose threads that they could tie together. And in my head, I'm thinking, I go back to 838, Multiverse of Madness, Incursions. You have some 616 people that really meddled across the multiverse in a lot of different ways. And ultimately, Xavier was killed by Scarlet Witch. We don't know where the Scarlet Witch is. Cassandra Nova wouldn't know where Scarlet Witch is at this point. She could be anywhere. Is it possible that she just wants to take revenge on the sacred timeline because they're the ones that ended up ruining so many different things, and that's the solution to the saving of the universe is to get rid of 616? And the TVA is like, listen, you have to protect the sacred timeline, because if you don't, here we are. Why did they choose Deadpool specifically? Maybe he was that I haven't figured out, but I could just see her being someone who's like, I just want to erase, which is kind of a continuation of Loki, which is where I kind of run into a wall with some of these theories. How original is it really going to be? And if it is really original, does it connect to anything at all? I'm sitting here on a podcast. We're sitting here on a podcast. We're not in the room. We didn't make the movie. So obviously there can be a difference, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was attack on a timeline, or they're put in the future and she's trying to go back and destroy something in the past, like Terminator style.
I like it, and I could see it mainly because of Paradox, which I think not a lot of people talk about. Mm-hmm. So clearly something, and Paradox, at least a time paradox, is something that shouldn't really happen, but is. So I could see them being the case. Like maybe after Scarlet Witch came and destroyed, the Illuminati of 838. 838 is meant to just die. And very well we could be in 838 now. And then, Cassandra Nova trying to really hold it together and seek revenge. It could be a thing. I'm interested to see where the plot goes. Yeah, I think there's not a lot that we know about it.
Yeah. Last thing, I just hope that they don't go the Marvels route with Dar-Benn being like, you wronged me, so I need to hurt your planet because you hurt my planet, but I need to save my people. I hope it doesn't go that route, and like her motivations are going to matter. How quickly can they build that? I could just see them positioning her, though, as a character who's supposed to be doing good, but for whatever reason, the TVA deems her as something that needs to be purged, and somebody's got to go do it. So here you go, Deadpool.
Make her full-on villain.
I'd prefer that.
Villain.
I prefer.
Yeah. One final thought. I just want your guys' opinion. Our last theory question, are we going to see a main 616 character in this movie? I'm not talking about a variant. Variants don't count, because I think we will see a variant. But I mean, are we going to see Benedict Cumberbatch 616 Doctor Strange or anybody else in this movie?
You're not talking about like archival footage or whatnot, because they had that one what is it, from the first teaser they had Deadpool seeing all those like old Avengers moments and stuff. You're not talking about that, right?
No, I mean like they interact currently.
I feel like yes, just because like they gotta have something special up their sleeve to really spread some rumors and tea, And if they really want to connect to the MCU, there's no other way. There's no better way to do it than having someone from the freaking main MCU in there for a second. Like, I'll just be not chef's kiss if they do that. If they don't do that.
Does it count if the characters existed in Loki? Because technically that's outside of 616. But it's like a main, like it's associated with being a main MCU show.
Who are we talking about? Like who?
I'm just talking about like Bashful Loki, Kid Loki, Alligator Loki.
Dude, I want to see Mobius again.
Even Mobius.
That'd be great.
Do those count?
I'd count anyone from the TVA.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's like a point, a full send is one, and that's kind of like a halfway send. Like it's kind of like a cheap way to do it. Like a core character though, no, maybe at the end in like an end credits scene, like if Doctor Strange were to show up and be like, I need you, blah 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 blah, sure. If they do it right though, and they do it cool, and they pull them straight to the Secret Wars battlefield, whatever they may be, that would be something I'd be hyped for. I'd be like, oh damn, here we go. Like you guys are going A to B.
I don't know why. And it's not just because of the portal scene in the trailer. I just really, really feel like Doctor Strange is going to be in here. Because he's one who could easily be inserted into this project and one, not feel out of place, but also two, have chemistry with Deadpool, I feel like. Because right now, if you were to just bring in Anthony Mackie into Deadpool, feel a little weird. But I feel like Doctor Strange, it feels like Doctor Strange could fit in here. And I feel like they're going to find a way to stop the incursion. And Strange is going to show up. And Strange is going to show up.
What is this like incursion that freaking Clea is taking him to?
I don't think it's that
Well,
one because she said it was
no.
her home dimension. I
We don't
feel
know
like
our whole dimension.
I think he's gonna find out and he's gonna be like, I need you because you did something that I can't.
Couldn't that be Wong?
No, but yes, but no.
No, don't be Wong. Like, definitely don't be Wong.
It could be, but it shouldn't be.
Come on, you get Wong and Madison rolling up,
Yo, if Madison shows up though, I'm popping off hard. I won't
bro.
lie.
I'm just saying, don't sleep on her. Maybe she's got the sling ring and she's like, "What's up, Madison? What's you?"
She's like, I need you guys.
Yeah.
Actually.
We're all out of chips. The portal thing is messing. This is a shout out to Marvel for doing that. That was just enough for you to be like, it could go anywhere. Theory crafting for the
Right
next
at the
3
end,
months.
too.
Like, I don't know. It's tough. My heart and in my head says something different.
Hype level. Before we transition.
8.
Right, Brenda.
Oh,
JK. 8? 8 out of 10?
Yeah.
Fair.
We're going 8-4. Sounds right.
I'm at a 10.
Ooh.
guys, you're at a 10. That felt like a 2.
I'm at a 10.
I will be at a 10 by the time this movie comes. I definitely will be at a 10. Like this, we talked about it on Discord. This has a chance. If it does cross that $1 billion marker, this movie can make a lot of history. And I'm rooting for this movie. We are rooting for this movie. I think a lot of people across the world are rooting for this movie to be impactful and just be that kind of, square peg in a round hole kind of thing of like, I am here. Like, we've arrived, right? We're going to shake this up. We're going to change the game. Things are going to be different. Like, jump on the roller coaster. I don't care if you're complaining. I don't care if you loved it. Doesn't matter. Everyone pile in and let's just shoot this thing down the road. I think they have a really good mindset and mentality. I'm hyped for that. It's just, we'll see. We'll see what the greater MCU piece is. That's my biggest thing I'm waiting for.
You only got to wait about 3 months.
Till Spider-Man turns 21.
21.
Dude, that beard doesn't fool anyone, man. It's just pure baby face under there.
Man, I'll be 25.
Got called out.
Hey, I'll take it. Looking younger than I am.
Dude,
my frontal lobe gets to develop this year.
Finally
Shout out to the frontal lobes. But really quickly, everyone, we just wanted to thank you all for watching the Point 3 podcast here on YouTube, for joining us weekly. Check out Spotify, Apple Podcasts, catch season 2, episode 1. We're going to be uploading weekly for our podcasts, so you can check that out as well. But stay tuned for our upcoming series, Road to Superman, which will be coming to a screen and speakers near you soon. But now it is time. We're going to get into a quick MCU redo here for Avengers Endgame. Hero Scroll, why is Avengers Endgame this version of our MCU redo today?
So it is, today's April 24th. So on Friday will be the 5-year anniversary of Avengers Endgame being released in theaters. I think we all know where we were at in certain points in time. I saw it that Saturday, I believe it was like 9:00.
And Sunday and Monday and Tuesday.
And then I was gonna say, and then I watched it again on Monday. But yeah, 5-year anniversary. And it's crazy to think that 5 years has gone by since this movie, and it is still, for a lot of people, the measuring stick of Marvel movies, which is kind of unfair to Marvel movies because this was just too unique. It was a perfect storm of just storytelling elements, character elements, and development over 10 plus years. Never been done before. To be quite honest, will probably never be done again at this type of level. Avengers Endgame is truly one of a kind. But we're here to talk about it and talk about what we did like, what we didn't like, and what we would change to make it, I'd say, even better.
Mhm.
Because there are certain things that this movie fails miserably at, if I'm being quite honest. But Spider Brando, really quick, what do you think about Avengers Endgame as is?
As is, I really liked it. And it's my number 3 movie in all of the MCU. But it was I'm never gonna forget it because I had to work at a movie theater during opening weekend, and I had, like, 105-degree fever on that Thursday night
Oh.
premiere, and they still wouldn't let me go home because it was just busy. Um, but it was a
Better
time,
be
and
said.
I ended up getting to leave early after, like, the first, like, set of rushes, and I took a nap, and then I went back to the same theater to go see my showtime for it for free.
That's savage. Dude, that's
Oh,
savage.
but I had to, dude, like, I was hearing a lot of the spoilers
Oh, yeah,
from,
forget work. Dude, I gotta rest up to go
working
see
out
the
of there.
movie.
I felt bad. My best friend had the whole, Avengers Assemble and picking up picking up Mjolnir spoiled for him because he had to do theater checks for it during the scene that
Oh,
came on, and he was salty. Um,
Dang.
but, like, looking back at it, when you think about all the key moments, gets you freaking hype, man, and I really wanna rewatch this movie because it's been quite some time.
Mhm.
Um But right now, I'd say it's still solid 9 out of 10 when I first ranked it. It
Mhm.
holds up to where to 5 years ago. It's crazy to think that now we're in, like, the 5-year later timeline that it was set up with post-snap.
True,
Scares
true.
me.
Yeah, we're in trouble, but, not good movie. I mean, overall box office gross 2.7 billion. The budget was 350 plus million. Uh, this was, like you guys are saying, a perfect storm. It's just it's one of those examples where you really don't care at the time the faults and the flaws of this movie. You're like, this is a freaking event. It gave you some of the most epic superhero film moments and dialogue you have ever gotten or maybe will get. It was emotional in a lot of ways, especially it was unknown at the time. And I think that was huge of like the uncertainty of where the MCU is going to go forward. Like, what's a worst case scenario? Like, we're going to get She Hulk and I'm just kidding. But the MCU is never going to be the same again after this. And it's weird when you watch stuff like that, to where it's been such a big part of your life. Like, to me, I know this is going to sound terrible, but the only way I can express this is like, you have to put your dog down. You know, like, it's the last time you're going to play with it. It's the last time you're going to do this. It's the last time all this stuff. Like, you've been my buddy for a long time and got me through a lot of stuff. That's how Endgame was. I don't think it was better than Infinity War, but Endgame was by far the most emotionally attached movie that I think I have in the MCU by a long shot. Um, I mean, my grade for the movie is still super high. I mean, it's that S tier top 3. It's always going to kind of sit in there regardless, even though as time goes on, you can poke a little bit more holes in the movie. It's still one of those that, like, I am Iron Man. My eyes are always going to well up no matter what.
excuse
I'm
me. Yeah,
crying just because you said it.
yeah. No, I was gonna say the emotions that this took, man. I mean, you think about it. 2009, I think, or 2008 was Iron Man.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember I was in, I think, like fourth or fifth grade or sixth grade, which is like elementary, middle school time. So, I mean, that's that's at that time most of your life watching these movies and caring about the story and getting more and more into it, and then finally it reaches its peak. Like you said, we didn't care about what it did wrong. It was just so cool to see all these things and experience it together. And I mean, I would say this is the second best theater experience I've ever had. The
Ooh.
first is first mainly because it was Dragon Ball Z Broly,
Oh, okay.
and that I mean that was just a different kind of rabid fan base, and that was a lot more fun. But this one was just as good. Well, no, it was second best. It was slightly less, but it was still very fun to be around and very fun to be in that theater. Yeah. So, kind of going into the next question though, for you guys, what would you have liked to see be done differently for the movie? Because now we're talking about all these holes that we're starting to poke on it 5 years later, and I would dare say that some of us maybe did a year later or a couple months after the film.
One of the biggest gripes I had with it was them just randomly deciding to send Natasha and Bucky, or not Bucky, what the heck? Clint to a planet, just a random planet that they had no idea what they were getting into. You would think like you could send someone that could fly there, like I don't know, was like stronger, but pairing the two of them together for that,
Just
I
nothing, just
get it.
basically butt
Yeah,
naked.
yeah. Like, how'd they even know where to go in the fight? Just randomly going onto a random planet. You got like a GPS or something. They're like, oh yeah, just
iPhone.
go hop on that tall mountain, see what happens. But I don't know. I feel like them being someplace else would have been better, but obviously to get the moment and Natasha sacrifice, RIP, had to be done.
I will go twofold on this. One, I did not like Black Widow's sacrifice, and I don't think that ages well at all. If she wanted an out in real life stuff, like I get it. But then Black Widow comes out and you're like, what the heck? And then you get like this weird passing of the torch to Yelena and stuff. And I'm like, I kind of think if Black Widow was alive now, the Avengers team would feel S tier still. And there would be a team. And the planet would be in much better hands. Her leaving and the way that they handled Hawkeye's situation, I feel like that was kind of weird as a fallout from Endgame. On rewatches, I will say the one thing that I wish was probably handled a little bit differently. At the time, I don't really remember how I felt about it, but logically looking back at it, I didn't love the resolution to the Infinity War sequence when the Tony stuff was cool with Nebula, Captain Marvel shows up, they come back, they have kind of their fun parts, and then they're like, Rocket's like, I found him. He's on this planet. And Thanos is like, oh, you guys, I'm chilling though. Like I did what I did. And he's like, I'm cutting your head off. It's gone. And then they're all just like, guess we go home. We got our revenge. Let's do it. Fly back. And then Scott Lang just gets pooped out of the timeline. And you're just like, oh my gosh, time heist. And then the movie begins. It's just that weird first like resolution parts where I'm like, it's okay. And I hate having to watch Smart Hulk again when he's doing his like I can't stand Smart Hulk at this point now. So that is one thing. I can't watch the movie all the way through. I have to skip Hulk. I have to skip Hulk. I do not care for him in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah, he pissed me off. They pissed me off with that.
Yeah. The first hour-ish of this movie feels a little odd. It really starts to pick up after the time heist.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't quite know what they could do to fix it. maybe just introduce the time heist would be better. Like having the opening scene being, them killing Thanos. That's it. Bringing Tony back and then getting into it. But it takes a minute, and I know they're doing it to make it like settle in. But yeah, it just ends up making it feel weird. My two biggest gripes, it's two characters, and I feel like if you fix them, a lot of this movie feels better. Thor and Hulk.
Thor first, because I have a point of something that you just had mentioned, which is always something I thought would be a nice fix for Thor. But yeah, why Thor? I'm curious.
So for me, I get what they're trying to go for. The very much, very real depression route and letting himself go. And I think you can still keep it. You can still keep Thor getting out of shape and kind of neglecting Asgard or New Asgard and just being a slob, but don't play it for jokes. I think it playing it for jokes deepens a lot of the impact that you're trying to go for. I think if you don't make it funny, like maybe he can crack a joke here or two, but if you make it very much a very real situation where it's like, yeah, no, he's let himself go because he in his mind has failed. He failed everybody. He's lost everybody that he's cared about. He literally has nothing. And if you don't play it for jokes, you don't make us laugh at him just because he's big, it feels like it feels very bully-like to me, where it's like, haha, fat guy, haha. And it's like, no, this man is depressed, is sad, it has gone through every worst thing imaginable. And now finally, when he's, when he's thought he saved his people from what in their mind was probably the worst event and losing their entire home, and finally having a relationship with his brother who he has cared about since the beginning, it all gets ripped away because he failed.
Yeah.
And then when he had a chance to avenge all that, he failed again. Like, if you don't play it for jokes, that story feels so much better. And when he sees his mom and she's like, time hasn't been kind to you, man, that would break any person, anybody. And then when he gets Mjolnir and he says, I'm still worthy, that should be like, him going Super Saiyan again and being like, no, I can do this. I can do this. I can feel confident.
Yeah.
And man, that new Thor would be insane. I think that changing the tone of how they deliver that would be so much better for a character.
I was gonna wait. Because it's a dual thing, and I was like, crap, maybe you should finish Hulk first, and then I'll throw it out there and see what you guys think.
Okay. My other point with Hulk was going to be, I don't like the fact that they just throw away the Hulk personality.
Right.
It's dumb. It's straight dumb.
So stupid.
So dumb, because you really set up an Infinity War that they're battling in his mind. And I think what you should have done to really give like a proper resolution to the story, you can still have Smart Hulk at the end, like Professor Hulk, where they're like, oh, we need to merge together to really, do what we need to do and beat Thanos. That can still be, what you work towards, but really show Bruce accepting Hulk, because that's been that's been his story arc, that he doesn't accept Hulk for what he is and what he does to him. And Hulk, in a way, really doesn't accept Bruce because he's always locking him away. I think if you have them, you have them kind of having like an exposition moment where they get to really talk to each other, be it in his mind, and them being like, no, we need to do this together. And he's like, you know what? I accept you. It's just, I was scared because of, this or that.
Yeah.
And having Hulk be like, I was scared because I really felt, in his own words, being like, I hate that you lock Hulk away. Like it would deliver another very emotional and impactful moment for a character that, let's be honest, is just big rage monster.
Yeah.
In the MCU at least. But
Yeah.
we know he can be more than that.
Right.
Yeah. Two minor fixes, but I think switches the tone of the movie entirely and makes it feel better.
Did you have something real quick, Spider Brando?
Mm-mm.
I'm curious what you guys would think of this, because if I could take what it was existing and just maybe move it around, I would take two things, and it would be with Thor and Hulk. And it would be Rocket still, everyone comes together in the Avengers compound, right? A little bit more time goes on, and I think you do have Thor, maybe not the fat Thor, but you have an emotional Thor who's kind of, we lost the game, right? It was my fault. I missed a game-winning shot. Like, it's on me. And you do have a Banner who is Hulkless, who is just kind of there. Like, I can't feel you. I can't hear you. I get angry and you're not there. Like, I just can't, and I miss it, right? I kind of have that of like, I know there's a reason for it, and I want to know why. Like, I care about you, but I'm also scared of you still, right? That kind of play. And you do have Rocket say, I located him. And as soon as that happens, he hulks out. Uncontrollable. And you have a version of Hulk that now finally knows where Thanos is, and he wants that second fight. He wants that revenge fight. He wants to go after him. And Thor says the same thing in his mind, where he's like, I'm going to go for the head. It's been enough time has passed. There's nothing to live for. None of that. And only two of them go to the garden. And they both, you see a nice fight scene of them just beating Thanos down, like down. And Thor ultimately does cut his head off. Hulk gets his revenge fight and pummels him to where he can't move, and Thor just takes that golf swing, and it's game over. And they both go back to Earth, and people, the Avengers are like, we can't stop either. You're like, you're both by far the strongest Avengers, so that's why you went, and it's cool. But then throughout the movie, you have Thor just being like, there really is nothing, like, I have nothing, and Hulk disappears. Hulk's nowhere, he's gone again, and it's kind of Banner's search to find him, and they become Smart Hulk by the end of the movie, because he really does need him when 2015 Thanos shows up. That's what I would have fixed. I wouldn't have changed anything else. I could go back and talk about, Natasha, but I would have singled out Hulk and Thor and really leaned into that Ragnarok relationship for them to go and face Thanos, because as warriors, they mutually understand that they lost, and they just kind of lean more into that, revenge, justice is served. Like, we took this guy in the alley and beat the crap out of him. We know it's not the right thing to do, but like, what else is there?
I really like that. Oh yeah, I wonder. Actually, no. I was gonna say something stupid if someone had an edit for the movie like that, but then most of what you said didn't even happen.
Maybe there's a fan version out there
somewhere.
Could be. But yeah, no, that would be really, really cool. I didn't get to speak much on Thor earlier. He grinded my gears. Comedic relief was way too much. As one who has been super overweight myself and has been on like a journey of losing a lot of the weight, I did not like what they did with them, and all the jokes and memes that kind of came out with it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is like funny and stuff, and obviously like humor's humor. But having him go through like what happened in Ragnarok and like losing his eye and like already going through kind of a struggle, and him just falling completely off. He should have was at rock bottom, but like you were saying, Lou should have had some light in him to to be an Avenger and wanna avenge, and then realize he can't keep going on with that route and to like actually care for his people instead of just moping about it.
I think that would have made a clean setup for Thor 4 when
100%.
he's still dealing with stuff and traveling the universe and meets up with the Guardians, because the Guardians in Guardians 3 and even after 2, like, that's kind of what they're about. And you can tell that James Gunn wasn't the person who kind of led that charge for a Taika Waititi movie. Like, the connections, the family, the camaraderie and stuff like that, really in hindsight, when you see Guardians 3, go back to Thor 4 and then go to Endgame, they should have treated Thor very differently. And Thor, and I think in a response, would have found new purpose with a team like that, very similarly to how Gamora did and how Nebula did, being so close to this specific situation in Endgame, where Thanos is kind of that common denominator for, you know, the 3 to 4 of them, including Quill. Like, there should have been a little bit more connection from that standpoint too.
And that's why a lot of people were, I remember, theorizing heavy before Love and Thunder came out, that they were like, you know, it's basically gonna be, you know, Guardians 2.5.
Yeah.
Because of the relationship that they established and the relationship that we expect the Guardians to have with people. And then they just, you know, Love and Thunder is a whole different story though.
Right.
And one other character I want to ask you guys about, because something I always see a lot of people complaining about, Captain Marvel. Would you guys have done anything differently with her?
I'll let Spider-Brando start.
I don't even know where to begin. I completely forgot she was in this movie, I'm not gonna lie. Just because of my, like, she had no reason to be in there. I don't think she should have been in this movie, and she was super, super rushed to be in there just because of the Captain Marvel movie. And they marketed her way, 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 way too much that it's going to be the savior of the MCU and more powerful than anything. Gets bodied by a Power Stone, which is rightfully fair, but like, I don't know, her whole demeanor in the movie after seeing like Captain Marvel and then going to that just felt really off and wasn't like the same character. I was not a big fan of her in this movie.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was filmed before Captain Marvel, right? This was technically her first appearance, but it wasn't for us because Captain Marvel came out first. Because this was filmed Infinity War, Endgame, and then Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And I think she really came a little bit more into her own. I think she was a cool inclusion into the movie in hindsight, knowing her relationship with Fury and her being like,
she could have been the one to get like the new Avengers though. Like Fury could have been the one that pushed the button post all of this and realizing that he needs a new team, and it starts with her. Imagine her being as like one of the first like new Avengers that we still don't have, and that just puts the team straight like 10 times through the roof.
The only thing I would have changed with her is I never would have shown her in the movie, period, until a very, very, very final fight. That's what I wouldn't have had that moment where she had the stare off or standoff with Cap, and all of them are kind of standing there when they walk in, just the 3 of them or something.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have had her just kind of enter through, blasting, powering through all the ships type of thing, just being like, who is that? And giving her a few more minutes to go toe to toe with Thanos. And maybe like finished off a couple of the Black Order instead of, I get it, Hulkbuster versus, Cole Obsidian and stuff. I think it'd been cool if she would have smoked him, saved Thor or Hulk, and then kind of, stood up with Thanos, stalemated him at least a little bit longer.
Yeah. I think the problem lies with her is that she's in it for like the first 20 minutes and then she's gone till the very end. And then they're like, hey, she's a big deal, guys. Remember, she's a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then where was she?
Yeah.
Because she just straight up was like, I don't care. Basically, when she's talking in that like council room with Natasha and everybody else, she's basically that's basically what she says in less words.
Yeah.
And to me, if you don't save her till the very end as like a surprise, last minute save, the only other way that I can see them doing it is have the journey really be told through her eyes in a way where, she still saves Tony, but then she stays on Earth. And she's like, I don't really get what Fury sees in you guys.
Yeah.
Like, why did he pick you?
Yeah.
Like, you're just a guy.
Yeah.
To Tony.
Damn, that would have been so clutch.
And then you have the story play out. And then to the very end, when he finally does the I am Iron Man moment, she really gets like, no, I see why Fury picked all of you. And then you have her, like Spider-Brando said, really start a new Avengers team. And you have her carry it on. And you've immediately made her more likable because she kind of gets to go through the story that we went through just in this movie, though.
I think it's important to have characters like that who represent your audience. And that's kind of where I feel like we've had a lot of gaps right now is at the end of that phase. And in this movie specifically, one of the biggest gripes for this movie is like, oh my gosh, I have to watch what? I have to spend how much time? Like, why are we standing in line for this movie? It's forever. And I think it would have been nice to have that level of character who can kind of talk some smack and be able to back it up. Like, no one's really going to raise a hand to her because she's just going to just slap you out of the way type of thing, And to start that way, I think it would have made for a much cleaner Marvels movie as well. For her to kind of get softened up from that kind of like true team aspect of like the reason maybe this is why the Avengers, because this is what it's about at the end of the day. You go to No Way Home, it's about like, hey, I did an Avengers thing. We're a team and we're this. You guys didn't have that. Like, this is really cool. That should be the core of a lot of these things are the Avengers still. And to have that perspective from Captain Marvel to be like, this was his contingency plan. Like, you guys are the mightiest heroes. And then by the end of it, she's like, damn, you are the mightiest heroes. I see it. Just like everyone who's in this theater, I see it. Captain Marvel, I think, regardless, no matter which way you kind of shake it down, is a miss in this movie. I almost wish from that standpoint she might have been one of the snapped. I think that would have solved a lot of problems. And she shows up at the end out of a portal and just starts blowing people up.
That would be cool.
Like, he calls her at the end of Infinity War and she gets it and then she fades away. And you would have been like, damn, what would she have done? I think that would have made us anticipate her a little bit more, especially on the heels of seeing her in Captain Marvel. I think that would have been a cool movie. That would have felt super weird, though. I'm going to be completely honest with you. That coming out when it did, that probably negates that $1 billion plus. I don't know. I think we can all agree she's been one of the most mishandled characters in the MCU period.
Poor Captain Marvel. Poor Captain Marvel. She at least was somewhat better in the Marvels. Yeah, she should feel a lot better.
Can we say one massive change that in hindsight really doesn't look good? Like, really doesn't look good? Can you guys guess what I'm going to say? I'll give you each a guess what I'm alluding to. We didn't know this at the time. This is definitely a multiverse saga event thing that happened, and you go back to Endgame and you're like, what the hell? Like, how are they going to explain that? Two things. Same project.
I'm confused.
Oh, is it the Loki stuff?
No, not Loki.
Oh?
Something happened to where they added to the MCU plot. We didn't know about it at the time, but we found out later on down the road in this phase, but it's directly connected to Endgame. Two things
Oh,
that
is it
stem from one project.
Paul Rudd? Or no, not Paul. Ant-Man's book thing that when
No,
he's
no, no,
talking
no, no,
about the events? No?
no, no. Guys, come
I got
on.
no clue.
If you're watching this, comment, timestamp it. We know what time it is if you drop it. What do you think I'm talking about?
Give me a hint. Give me a hint. Give us a hint. Where are we looking? What project? Or what
It's a show.
year?
It's a show.
Show? Oh.
She-Hulk? Was it anything? No.
It's something from Loki.
No.
No?
Guys, come on.
We are not on point with point 3.
Oh, this
Is
is
it Cap?
off point.
The
No.
Cap? No? I'm trying
No.
to think of all the shows
No.
now.
From
This is how
She-Hulk?
egregious it was. You guys deleted it from your mind. Nope,
It's
not from She-Hulk.
No.
No.
WandaVision stuff?
No.
No, dude, I don't know. What other shows is
Boys.
there?
What other shows are left?
It involves Nick Fury.
Secret Invasion.
Yes, boys.
Oh my god. I just remembered. Oh,
Oh.
no. It's the vial thing.
And
Freaking Gaia, man. Oh my.
the vial thing,
Ah.
yes. And there's one more even bigger thing. That's like the second point I had.
Rhodey.
Scrolls.
Rhodey.
Oh yeah.
Rhodey.
Oh my god,
Rhodey.
I did erase it from my memory. Because once it clicked, I was like, oh no.
Secret Invasion was a time.
Man, dude, flashback to us like a year ago. We were so excited for Secret Invasion.
Yeah. I've listened to those videos a couple times where like right before this, there was like 2 episodes ago in the series and we're like, hold up. Hold up.
We were kind of like
Our transition from like episodes 1 through 3 to like
Yeah.
5 through 6. Oh my god, what a flip.
Such a flip. But yeah, I mean, Iron Man had 2 specific moments that everyone's like, damn, that hit. On a rewatch, it definitely did not hit. And it felt really, really different. And I'm not saying it took away from the Iron Man moment because I know it's coming. But when I see like Gwyneth Paltrow, I'm just like, damn, like Pepper, okay. But now when I see Don Cheadle, I'm just like, bro, back away, you scroll fool, like back up.
Yeah, it feels very weird in hindsight. Because it's like the more you think about it, and I get, again, if you look back to those episodes, we were very on board with it being Rhodey being the scroll.
Yeah.
But I think that as time has gone by and the more we thought about it, the more we're like, ooh, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is not good. Because if it's the same scroll, which I would feel like it is, because the only other way they could explain is that it's just it was a different scroll. But that means that the scroll would have fought alongside the Avengers, still having the memories of Rhodey, being sad that Iron Man died, and then was like, I'm just gonna go back to being evil. Here we go.
Yeah, like I tried to save the universe. Like they didn't even make an attempt to make that be like we're fighting against Thanos. You know what I mean? Like I have an attachment, but Skrulls are like, forget humans. Like we're out of here. I'm like, didn't you just cry over one? You had like a final like. That's a massive disconnect. It feels odd, and just it feels even stranger going back and watching this movie. So
yeah,
truthfully,
I'm sad you brought that memory back.
I'm sorry. I had to. And then the whole thing at the battlefield of like Gravik and like collecting the DNA from the battlefields for like Super Skrulls.
What was that vial called?
Garbage.
We will give a shout out to someone in the comments on our next live stream if you could remind us what the vial was called without looking it up.
Yeah. I don't even remember at this point. I'm a bad point through here.
All I know is Gaia consumed it. And that's all I know. Where is
Forgot
she at now? Oh my god.
it. So,
She's
dude,
somewhere in Britain, in England.
that's one of those like they slap the file and they're like, "Hey, you guys got to solve this crime," and you just push the envelope and you're like, "No, I'm good." Like, let's just put that one in like unsolved cases and just kind of just leave it. And they're just like, "Are you
We'll
sure?"
put it
Like,
back.
yeah, kind of.
We'll put it back in the never to be seen again.
Yeah. One other thing that I did want to bring up here to kind of end or final. We have 2 more or 3 more finals left, but fan service. Did this do it right? Did it hit the nostalgia and the fan service? And what was your favorite kind of fan service moment that they pulled off in the movie?
I'm torn between the Avengers Assemble and just Cap wielding Mjolnir for the first time. Those are just iconic moments. But I'm gonna have to go with Mjolnir because I was least expecting that.
Okay.
And that was just beautiful. Paid off the Avengers 2 post credit scene of if
Yeah.
Cap was worthy or not. So it fit continuity wise there too. You can't say it was just pure fan service.
Yeah,
And that was legit.
it was.
It was legit. Those are good.
I might have to go with the Avengers Assemble moment. Like, I know we've had big like assemble moments like that after with like, for example, No Way Home, seeing all 3 Spider-Man. But I think the big difference is that seeing all the characters that we've seen in a 10 plus year story just come out all at once and be together, that like something straight out of a video game or a comic book, and in this case a comic book, like I don't think we ever expected to see something like that on screen.
Yeah.
And it delivers every time. It's never not cool.
Yeah. Guys, I'm getting straight goosebumps right now, and like there's something. It is the Avengers Assemble moment, but I remember getting super emotional watching it through when like Tony got beat down, Thor's beat down, like Cap like pulls on his like straps and he's like, "Let's go, like I'm gonna face Thanos. If I gotta do it, I gotta do it." And then you hear the intercom or the radio start like crackling back in, and you hear "On Your Left," and I was like, "Damn!" And then the music starts hitting, and then everyone comes out, and then you get Avengers Assemble. Like that moment and chunk of time begins for me with the "On Your Left."
Yes.
And straight goosebumps.
Spider-Man swinging in.
Yeah. Oh, dude, everyone gets their intro. You see everybody come back. It is just such a cool moment that, yeah, I mean, you live action wise, that's probably, I think the only other thing it's not the scale, but the only other thing that I thought of probably before this was like Power Rangers, when like all the Reds assembled and you kind of had like that one where like everyone rolled up and you're just like, whoa, but that was more of like a let's go versus me. I'm like, my boys, my boys are back.
It's
I'm not crying, you're crying.
It's sadder in hindsight, but Chadwick Boseman coming out, like,
yeah,
so good.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, this movie's different, man. This movie's. I know we kind of talked about things that we would change, but if you're new here, that's just what we do. We talk about, how we would make things personally better, because part of loving something is being able to criticize it and still love it. And I think for all of us, we are still going to love Endgame no matter what. The MCU can do 1,000,001 Secret Invasion type projects where they come in and tell you that, Iron Man was also a scroll. They can mess it all up, but we will still love Endgame because it was just a very different moment in time that I genuinely don't think will ever be done again. And we could talk about all the weird character moments and decisions, but at the end of the day, this is special and will forever remain special.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. Well, with that, everyone, we appreciate you all checking out this very special episode of the Point 3 podcast. 5 years since Endgame, 1 year since the Point 3 podcast was formed. Your favorite trio of hosts here on YouTube. We are here on Discord, social media. Join the web of conversations. Talk to us. We want to talk to you. We want to enhance your experience, and we want you to enhance our experience as well. We know the communities surrounding all these things we talk about are fantastic, and that does include you. But before next Wednesday's live stream, and we hope to see you there, there's 3 things that you have to do, and they're very important, very near and dear to the Point 3 podcast, and that is to keep watching, to keep reading, and to keep nerding out. We'll see you next time.